Hi there, Caesar. Are you going to join in here tonight? If you jump up, you might not clear. You might not clear, just so you know. You might not clear the MacBook landing there. All right, let's see here. I think I did it. Good evening, as Alfred Hitchcock used to say. Welcome to streaming live from our living room, trying to make Tuesdays suck less. We're doing the scary editions. I was going to do a cold opening on a horror story that I just wrote today, but it wasn't really that scary, and I didn't finish it. So I thought, well, that's kind of a stupid idea. Um, but we're going to be keeping with the theme of what is fun and scary in October here. I'm not sure how this thing winds up. Okay, there is a cat up here. That's only scary for me on kind of, he's really adorable, except that he's still a little bit rough. So if I do anything gets him all worked up, that's Caesar back there. Um, I could have a surprise scare going on right here, right now. I feel terrible about the commercials that pounded through this live stream last Tuesday. I had no idea. I do blame the update. I think there was an update, and then the default settings must have been to fuck me in a bucket of goo. And Mrs. Comic said you folks were saying, "Hey, this is terrible." Um, but if she would have told me that, I probably would have shut the whole thing down. So right now, we're just gonna wing this thing. Um, the idea of telling scary stories was great until I didn't really have a scary story to tell. So I want to kick off things with a teeny little bit of other things. Today is National Cat Day, which I knew about and I forgot about. So there's me. I am actually featured on an Instagram account, Pet Magazine, Pet Mag, I think it is. That's our good friends over there. Game of Thrones couple. I call them Glenn and Annie. Uh, Great supporters of my show. Great supporters of animals far and wide. And that's me with Rico in the kangaroo pouch. So um, I'm famous now. In fact, the family's been sending messages all day going, OMG, Rico is so cute. Never mind me being in show business and I'm featured in the thing, but never mind me. It's really about cats and the whole idea. Uh, National Cat Day is all well and good, but if you're a cat person like us, like every day is National Cat Day. There's not a day when the cats don't rule the universe. And so right now I'm being ruled by Caesar inside, Bearcat outside, Rico across town that we take care of now and again, our adorable wobbling cat, and bittersweet because we're creeping up on Clee's birthday, the brilliant artist and hippie friend of my youth, and Clee's sister has a Zoom meeting tonight. Well, that's fucking scary for her. And sometimes I adjust it when we can stream, but it's been a crazy week, and so I couldn't really do it. Um, so we're gonna see what happens tonight. We're just gonna wing this thing. Richter is in the house. I'm telling you a story, Richter. I was gonna have a picture ready, but okay. So this has to do with being with the right people in life and meeting people. Richter is amazing. Richter loves Twin Peaks and all this crazy shit. Mrs. Comic had asked if you had seen Twin Peaks season 3. I would be stunned if you didn't. But so it's been. I think it's been about 10 years now since we threw a. I hope everybody else saw those balloons because I didn't. Some balloons just went up on the screen there. I don't. I didn't have nothing to do with that. If the ghouls are around, they're friendly ghosts. That's what they are. So our daughter's partner, Vince, amazing young man, he took to Twin Peaks right away. Richter, here's what would make you nuts about him. He's a grown up and he didn't know about David Lynch and he didn't know about Eraserhead. He didn't even know about classic horror movies like Frankenstein, Wolfman. But he's all in. He's embraced these things, and he took to Twin Peaks like instantly. And that's either you're either there or you're like, whoa, look at the time. I gotta get the fuck out of here. So we're going back now to the first season when Cooper was getting messages in a dream, and he set up outside bottles and rocks and a chalkboard, and Deputy Andy was there, and Lucy and the Hawk, and they were all there, and they were going to say the name of a suspect and what their relationship was to the dead person, and then Cooper would say this to the rock, and then he'd throw at these bottles, and if he hit the bottle, they'd have to make a note. If they missed the bottle, make a note. But if he hit the bottle and it broke, wow, that's some serious shit. So what we set up, mostly me, but Mrs. Comic humors my silliness. I set up the rock throwing bottle thing in the backyard for Vince, and there's film of it somewhere, but I'm not going to show it to you, Pecker. It's on account. That's very personal stuff. But that's how nuts we are. So when you're in this group of awesome people, it's possible you could find yourself in a scene from Twin Peaks throwing rocks at bottles for your birthday. So that was some good fun there. I'm not exactly sure why the Twin Peaks season 3 came up in the week. Mrs. Comic and I were watching stuff, and somehow she said, "I wonder if Richter saw Twin Peaks season 3." I'm sure he did, and if you didn't, then I stood up for you and went and made a dick out of me. So there's that. So anyway, I'm going to start this story here tonight or something. I have other shit to tell you. It's not going to be as scary as I thought it was. So I better get a little bourbon here. Salute to this is a Cleese birthday toast. Another friend from my hippie days, Frank, who is back in our lives now. He's down in Florida right now. Um, he has a birthday. It was just the other day. There's a lot of October birthdays. Twin Peaks, daughter's partner Vince has an October birthday a few days ago, and his best friend actually has a birthday on the same day. So October is birthday madness day, madness month. So shout out to all the birthdays out there. Here we go. Here's that going on here. I'm gonna tell you this story that I started writing today. It's probably gonna be very boring, but let's see. And I might not just read it. I might just tell it as I told it. It's cliche. It's based on cliche, or I guess it's a trope when you do a cliche in horror films and all that, of teenage friends who then they grew up and they drifted apart and they decide to get back together like 20 years later, and they think everything's going to be the same, and it fucking isn't. It's just a fucking train wreck. And they mostly, one person has the idea for them all to get back together, and they are excited about it, but they also think as a group it's a fucking stupid idea, and they all have spouses now that were not part of this thing. So the spouses are mixed bag of nuts there. Some are like, "Oh boy, I can go meet your friends from the olden days," and the friends are like, also, uh, "Maybe I don't want you to meet my friends from the olden days. We want to keep some of these skeletons buried in the closet." It's never as good as they thought it would be. That's the whole flow there. So that's the premise in these. There's teenagers all grown up. They have no skeletons in the closet whatsoever, just like none. It's just they used to like to go and around this time of year, huddle around a campfire in the woods, get all liquored up, smoke a lot of dope, and try to scare the fuck out of each other. That's the premise. This time they're all grown up. They haven't seen each other in 20 plus years, and they haven't really changed much except they brought the spouses along. So now we join our story here at the Halloween campfire. They sat around a perfect campfire like the way they did so many years ago. They'd grown apart over the years, but they all thought it was a good idea to get together and tell some scary stories, get liquored up, smoke a little dope, and have some fun. They had decided not to tell personal stories about their past. Not so much because they had ghosts in the closet, but more to the point where if there were embarrassing stories, they didn't know how far each one of them's spouse had come along on the story, and if perhaps your particular story involves it was the first time you had a really strong Belgian ale, and your response to it was to roll around on the ground and put on your wife's underwear that she got for a Christmas present. Shout out to my brother-in-law Jack. It wasn't a Halloween service, but it was a Christmas present. And when I served that beer up, however many years ago, I was instructed by his grown-up daughter, same age as our daughters, don't you ever give him that kind of beer ever again, which I didn't. So the guys uh, decided they were not going to tell those kinds of stories for that exact reason. So now they're sitting around, and the problem with trying to tell scary stories is that I can connect with you right now is that it seems a lot easier than it actually is. When it's actually a thing where you have to try to scare someone, it's not that easy. So they kind of made a little bet amongst themselves that they were going to take turns telling scary stories and see which one of them would get the closest to actually scaring the fuck out of them. Now they're going around and they start telling stories, and they and they have all the cliche things. It's they're out in the woods, and there's Jason running around in the woods, and the history of somebody was murdered right over there, and they tried not to do the cliche of putting the flashlight on the face because they were smart enough to know that that's not really that scary. What it actually does is if you were running around as a teenager and now it's 20, 30 years later, you probably don't want to put a flashlight on your face to highlight the scariness of your face that you're not young anymore. So they opted to try to not do the flashlight in the face. So they were they were trying to tell these stories and scaring the fuck out of each other, and they were just failing miserably one after the next because ultimately every story when it got close to scaring the fuck out of someone because they were liquored up and because they were smoking crunks, marijuana. I don't know if I should call it crunks or marijuana in the story. That'd be a little asterisk there to explain all that. Their tolerance for being able to hear anything without giggling was fucking zero. So they would laugh and giggle and completely fuck up the story. And so it really wasn't going anywhere. And so ultimately, they were thinking this was a bad idea, but they were committed to trying to create a great story. In fact, uh, this isn't in the story, but I had to put this in the story. Clee, Clee's sister, I sure wish she was here because he was a master at this. This time of year is Clee's time of year, and we somehow have to have a Clee birthday party on the cemetery. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we could be walking, Clee and I could be walking this time of year in the dark, not necessarily at a cemetery, and Clee would say something that just off the cuff that would just scare the fuck out of me. Like, what if death was just a step? Like we were walking when we got here, we were alive, and a few steps in, we are now dead. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Why would you fucking say something like that to me? That's the kind of scare these peckerheads were looking for around the campfire, and they just couldn't fucking hit it. So now, as the party went on, and they were not achieving the proper scare that they were, um, they became aware of all being fans of horror films themselves, and some of those things are starting to come back to haunt them a teeny tiny little bit. And ultimately, in all of those old horror films and the new horror films, it's the guys who believe the women are easier to scare, and so the teasing and the taunting goes attacks the women, and they're not idiots. So they don't really give a fuck. So there's a little of that kind of teasing going on here, and they just couldn't find the scary story, and then subconsciously they realized that soon one or all of them are going to have to pee, and they're going to have to pee in the woods, and that's actually where the scare starts to get you because in all of the scary films they'd seen together that were out in the woods when the group broke up, that's when the psychopath came and fucking chopped them up. They didn't usually come and attack the circle of friends. They wait until he's went off to make a wee wee. So women being smarter than men decided to go off in a group, and the women were so intelligent. They said, "I don't even have to pee, but I'm going because by the time we get there, I might have to pee. I might drink a beer right now to force pee when I go." And women also will pee in a group, not next to each other, but they will squat in earshot. So the four women would form an alliance of safety where they could see each other. And if anything went wrong, that fucking psychopath didn't have a shot. Well, the men, we can't stand to be that close to each other when we pee. The guys all knew this, and so they were going to go not run off on each other, but they weren't going to be anywhere where any of them could see each other. And that's big difference right there, because I think women, when they start peeing, actually can stop. Men cannot. So when the man is most vulnerable, when he's off on his own, pissing against a tree, and that's when a serial killer is going to get him in them fucking things. The woman will not be attacked when she's in the squatting position, because the squatting position brings strength to your body. It's like doing a fucking deep knee bend. So the women squatting and had an eye on each other were ready to attack any fucking thing that came after them. And ultimately, they all came back, except there's always one that doesn't come back. And that's the asshole. There was always the funny guy of the group. That would be me, I suppose. And there becomes a thing where it's too long. It's too long. They should be back now. It's too fucking long. And he starts screaming for that person. All right, funny, we get it. Ha ha. Something bad happened to you. You're not fucking coming back. This would go on until they realized ultimately, possibly, something was wrong and something really bad happened. And so the prankster of this group, being me, being gone, being the last one to come back, waited so he could hear. And now they're really pissed. It's that thing where they get a little drunk and say, "This isn't funny, asshole. Let's go. We're going to leave without you." And that's as far as the story got. But the me that's peeing actually realized I didn't really like any of these people anymore. So I came up and I bashed their fucking skull in with a sledgehammer. And that's the end of that horror story. Richter, I thought you would really love that one. So I appreciate the tip there. And that's actual throwback to stories I used to tell on the ZZO morning show with Bearman and Keith. Bearman loved them. They'd be condensed. They weren't necessarily horror stories per se, but there would be a twist in the story that I'd be telling that would flip horror. And one of those that made Bearman almost choke to death. And they put the tagline in the promo there is, "I've told a serious story about an Amishman whose body ached so much he realized he needed a tractor, and he didn't care if he was going to burn in hell, but he wasn't supposed to have a tractor, so he had torment, and he went and he got himself a tractor, and it made him nuts, and the tractor kind of sort of haunted him a little bit, and then he hit a rock or he hit a bump, and he flew off his tractor, and it had those slicey things, and he fell, and the tractor went, and it drove over him, and it cut him up, and he laid there. This Amish farmer laid there with his own tractor that shouldn't have had in the first place, and the blades sliced him up, and then he bled to death. That was the end of the story. And that's the part the Bearman liked. And then he fell off the tractor, the thing sliced him, and then he bled to death. And that was the it. That was the punchline at the end. Eddie bled to death. And the Bearman would say, "And then he bled to death." And then he'd laugh to the point where he told me, "Get out of here. Just get out, get out, get out." So that's my start of my horror story that's going somewhere, that's going nowhere. But we love Halloween. We love all the scary stuff that's going on here. I don't know. I didn't have a look at this. I'm starting to get back to writing. My life has been so busy. I haven't been doing much writing. I'm afraid of this. I have 6 pages written of an Amish ghost story that I've been started, and now I have to finish it, or not finish it. I have to go back and rewrite it. I should have this ready next week. I don't want to say it tonight because I don't think it'll be good. It might not be good next week, but at least it will have a better shot. And Grady Hendrix heckled me into getting back to writing. He's a brilliant horror author. So if I just wing it tonight, then I won't feel like I'd want to do it next week. I'd rather look at it and maybe give it some tweaks And then also, hopefully, Clee's sister will be in there because um, horror is going to have to go through all of November. We can't just fucking end horror now. That's not going to happen. So I'll try to get the Amish ghost story ready. And the premise of that is basically it's the first person story where it's an Amish young man, maybe in his 20s, and he wakes up and he suspects after 15, 20 minutes that he might be dead, but he's not exactly sure. And then he walks around and he can't really notice if anything's out of place because Amish farmers are doing all the things that they would normally do, and there's not a lot of talking going on, and it's dark in the morning, and so he's walking around different places trying to sort out if he's actually dead, and if he is dead, is he a ghost, or did he make it to heaven, or is he somewhere in between, or is he just sleeping? He's gonna wake the fuck up. So I like the premise of this too because there's underlying things. We love horror movies. A lot of things that would be in horror movies aren't going to work for this possibly Amish ghost is because they always do things with mirrors and he can't look in a mirror because they don't have a mirror. They do things with candles and drafts and Amish have candles and the wind fucking blows them out all the time. It's cold in the basement also. So there's a lot of things here that he won't be able to determine like a normal ghost. So hopefully I'll have that a little more presentable next week. Um, Now let's see. I'm going to tell you some scary stories that aren't really scary stories at all, but they're scary to me. I'm going back through my career and trying to do some rewrites on some material and pre-internet, which is now the way to promote yourself. I actually had to do mailing lists and mail postcards out. I actually had to um, put ads in newspapers and the phone book. They still have, I don't know if they still have phone books, but the phone book was that thick. It weighed 15 pounds. And we kept getting them for year after year after year when nobody fucking used them. Nobody fucking used phone books. Once we got cell phones, phone books became a thing that they throw it on the porch late at night. The motherfuckers to get people to deliver at 1 o'clock in the morning. I sat by that window and the phone book would hit and scare the fuck out of me. It sounded like a big fucking, like you dropped a fucking bowling ball on the front porch. So the phone book story, from my perspective, was fucking scary when they scare the fuck out of me. But phone books, we kept them, and if you had a stack of them, the only thing they were really good for was putting them in the kitchen. And if you put 3 of them on there, if you need to reach way up high or something on the top shelf. But now the yellow pages. Grab me a little. I got a Belgian ale tonight too, Richter. Look out! I'm gonna get lit. Richter, this could be fun. I could be here babbling for 3 fucking hours. You love that. So never advertised in the phone book because they had actually big block ads that were kind of expensive. But as a business, I was entitled to a free listing in the yellow pages in the entertainment section. And so they called me up and they asked me what I did. And they said, and they tried to sell me a better ad. I'm like, no, I'll just take the free one. So, and I told them I was a stand up comedian. And they said, well, what's the language of your show? And I said, well, it's R rated. I curse like nobody's business. So it would be considered an adult rated show. So now in their entertainment section was clowns, jugglers, uh, people who dressed up with like bears and came and did all kind of shit, magic tricks and juggles and shit. So they told me they were not comfortable putting my adult themed show in the entertainment. I said, well, that's okay. I don't really give a shit about the free listing or not. And they said, oh, you'll still get it, but we have to put you in the adult entertainment section. Now, in the adult entertainment section, pre-internet, in a phone book, there wasn't cursing jugglers or cursing clowns. Adult entertainment was strip clubs, massage parlors, strip clubs, massage parlors, strip clubs, massage parlors, escort services hidden as a strip club or a massage parlor. And we never answered our fucking phone. We had an answering machine, and it went fucking once a week on a Friday or Saturday night, and his peckerhead was on there. I called up and said, "We cannot find your salon." I think that's what it was. We're driving around. We want to get a party going. We want to get a good sex party going at your salon. Mrs. Comic and I hit the fucking deck. We turned all the fucking lights out. We didn't answer the phone. The message was on there, and they kept calling and saying, "We're close. We know we're close, but we can't." And you wouldn't. You could possibly find the address here, but you wouldn't say there's a fucking slutty sex club here. Well, now with all these Halloween lights, maybe you might think differently, but so they kept saying they were going around the block, and we laid on this fucking floor, and that's actually what cured us of having that listing, and it was in there for a fucking year. It's in there for a year, and I had to do whatever I had to do to get it the fuck out of there. But we got all kinds of crazy fucking nutball calls. Amish comic adult entertainment. People left messages on that phone to have sex parties. I'm here to tell you, if you're a sleazy fuck and you want to have a sex party and you have to go into the yellow pages, this is fraught with disaster. I'm not saying you shouldn't have adult sex parties, but it probably should be like with people that you know or some sort of swingers club or some shit. If you're just calling a random adult entertainment in the yellow pages for a sex party, I believe you are possibly a really dangerous fucking pervert. Plus, also, what do you go through there? Like, you know, babes in stockings, bondage, S&M, but whatever. Where does it click for you, Amish comic? What the fuck were they thinking was going to happen? Like I was gonna have like fucking burlap anal beads, or I fucking know what the fuck it is. You know, build a barn around them and fucking torture the fuck. At what point is Amish a slutty, sexy thing? There's no punchline to that. It's just basically it needs a rewrite to be brought back so people know how we lived when we had phone books. Um, so the other note I made here, and this is more of a P story than anything else, is that we go back to Silence of the Lambs now, and he's running around in the dark, and he has these fucking crazy glasses on that you can see in the dark, and that's important to the story. And the story basically was this: that ladies, we don't pee on the bathroom floor to piss you off. We really don't. It's just a thing where, and that doesn't happen to me at all anymore because thanks to Caesar, I got to fucking pee sitting down because he follows me and he stands right there, and it's really dangerous for both of us. So I'm cured of that. Make no mistake about that. But the reason that we would pee on the floor is that when you get up, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're walking like fucking Frankenstein, and you don't want to turn the bathroom light on because it'll fucking blind the fuck out of you, really wake you up, and you will be wide awake at fucking 3 o'clock in the morning. That is why we wound up peeing on the floor. So my solution was simply this: line yourself up with your best guess. And right when you think you're ready to pee and you're all lined up really good, take the lights and flash them on and off. And for like a millionth of a second, you'll be able to see like the Silence of the Lambs guy, if it's that like fucking delayed light thing, and then it'll be dark when you start peeing, but you have that 1 millionth of a second to line up your piss, and then when it goes dark again, when you start peeing, if you don't hear the sound of water right away, you went and fucked up the aim. But so now that's gonna need a rewrite right there. Let's see here. Bibbity bobbity boo. Oh, we did haunted places and shit. I there's so much scary shit to watch. We're way behind schedule. I'm gonna tell you a couple things that we love watching, and where the hell are they right now? This I didn't put the pictures in there. This is a movie called Grabbers. I believe I've talked about this before. It's set in Ireland, and it's a big, stupid tentacle monster that they didn't know what to call grabbers. And I, I would almost give you a spoiler here because it's really fun. The only way to kill this thing is if everybody's fucking drunk. If you are fucking hammered to the fucking nines, the grabber cannot get you. And it's a small community on a remote location in Ireland, and only like 5 or 6 people. It's one of those towns where everybody goes to one pub because that's all they have, and only 5 or 6 people know about this. When they got to get everybody into this pub and get them really fucking hammered without telling them the reason you got to get all fucking manure faced is because if you don't, the grabber will fucking get you. And now they discovered this accidentally, and so the guy who the monster wouldn't get was really fucking hammered. And he asked him what he drank. And so he listed like, well, I started it slow with like 9 pints of Guinness because they don't really consider Guinness like actually drinking, and then some whiskey, and they list all the shit. And so they ran some tests on a lady who didn't drink at all. She was like a detective, sheriff. I don't know what the hell she was. So they tested on her, and she gets really fucking hammered. It's a great watch. It's really fun. It's also scary. It's fun. It's silly. It's scary. I had to burp. That's scary. Grabbers, check that out. And there's another one here. Oh, I didn't bring it. 13 Ghosts. I think it's over. I'll tell you about it next week. I don't want to get up. But Richter, again, this is like the Mrs. Comic is trying to get the DVD for me because she's awesome, but she's also crashing. And there's possibility she'll crash into the camera, which is right there. So now, part of this is scary for me because this is where the horror of my life is. If somebody kicks this fucking thing down.
I don't see it. Tingler.
No, not the Tingler. All right, so we'll get to that next week. 13 Ghosts of the old one, and there's a remake. Check that out. That's fantastic. Richter, this is Richter. This is your stream right now. This Richter is one of the prized collections of our vinyl collection. It's David Lynch, Crazy Clown Time. This is out of print. Richter, if you can find this anywhere in the world for like under $50, swoop it up. It's fucking incredible. It's David Lynch, and he sings and he can't sing. That's the beauty of it. And there's amazing things on here. I wish I could play shit for you, but there's copyright infringement and all that. One song is just called "Football Game," and it just sounds terrible, but this is really fun and scary and creepy, and it's part of our Halloween tradition, as is all the music from the Twin Peaks series, past and present. So that's part of our Halloween watching. That's great stuff there. Um, let's see. Oh, I know what I got to show you. This is so fucking incredible. For reasons I couldn't tell you, Caesar's amazing. Caesar, this crazy cat, came in here and just took over a house in the best possible way. But he likes stuff that we like, or at least he wants an explanation. In the day, on my window over there, I have a privacy treatment. It's only this big, and it's a prism. And when the sunlight cuts through, because it's fucking when it hits, it's like driving a 78 West. When that hits, it can blind me. I'll sit right over here, and it would blind me. It's so, but when it hits the prism, it's actually really fucking cool. So there's prism all over this place. Now let's see where it is here if I can find it. Bibbity bobbity boo. All right, there it is. Right there. Caesar has taken to Prism Hour with a passion, and not only does he enjoy it, he actually loves it. He actually lines himself up in where the sun's going to be before it actually gets there. Richter will probably be the only one in the chat tonight who can identify the uh, Black Lodge pillow right there, which on the other side of it has Agent Cooper's face, which actually scares Caesar So we flip it over, and you see all that prism effects there. And see, I call that Caesar. To me, he's smiling. To me, that is a happy cat. He is smiling, and he is uh, he's a hippie cat. He's a hippie cat in a hippie family. That's the kind of shit hippies would do. Let a prism hit you in the face, smile, and look up at the ceiling, and he's actually looking at a gorgeous prism reflection on the ceiling. It's a rainbow. It's absolutely incredible. So he's taken to that with the greatest of ease. So we're loving that. And one of the great sadnesses of Clee's sister not being here tonight is that I have some of Clee's artwork ready, which is um, our living room is really fucking amazing. The whole wall back here is the TV and the record player and the sound system, but there's a mini Clee art gallery back here. That is the lovely Mrs. Comic, which Clee did a portrait for me for a birthday, I believe. I don't know what year, way back when. And he needed to borrow the painting for an art show he was doing. And apparently his art advisors told him that my beautiful wife portrait wasn't really anything that would be anything he could do for this show. So he decided he would add a smoking baby, right? And put the smoking baby in. And he didn't tell me. And then when he returned it, he was really upset. And he said, the smoking baby with your beautiful wife was a big fucking hit. It was incredible. If people wanted to buy this thing, I could have sold it, but I gave it to you for a gift, so I couldn't. If you want me to remove the smoking baby and put your wife back, I could do it. He's that talented, he could do it. No, we love the fucking smoking baby. Jump to Twin Peaks season 3, smoking babies, Richter. They say it. It's a horrible scene, but it's smoking babies. You fucking make me laugh, smoking babies. So there you go. This is a prize collection. As holishly, if you don't know, Cleve, brilliant artist, we lost him however many years ago. Really sad. Richter, he would have fucking loved him. He did all this amazing artwork for us, and it's fun to do tribute of it. Now, I also helped him make up stories because we took painting and stuff around, and then they were art shows, and they were like, "Well, what do you want the viewer to see?" And he's like, "Just fucking look at it, man. Just look at that painting and see that." So I have this stuff here, and once a year, around this time of year, the local college where he used to do a radio show at does a Clee birthday tribute, and they bring his artwork into a little gallery over there, and it's incredible. And they've been on me for years to let my stuff go in there, and I want the world to see it, but I can't fucking risk it. I cannot. One of these shows, uh, some artwork was stolen, and it's gone, and it's just too precious to me. So um, I would encourage you to go see that. I don't have the information yet, but when I get it, I'll post it if they're doing it this year or not. But as holishly, it's mine. I'm Mrs. Comics, and we're fucking keeping it. So right there, you got Smoking Baby, and one of our personal favorites, Mrs. Comic and I. That's charcoal. That's an etching. There's so much going on in there, Richter. It's me and a bag of marijuana and fucking 3 hours I could sit in there and not decode all the faces and stuff in there. And this is exactly the kind of thing they wanted Clee to have a story for. So we just took the things back and we hung out at Clee's basement and we smoked dope, and then we made up ghost stories about these paintings. I wish we would have fucking recorded those. This is one of our favorite pieces right there. Um, we can't. It's behind glass, and I'm afraid to even touch it. That's another thing. I don't want to move it. Heaven forbid something will fucking happen to these things. I think that's my absolute favorite. Let me show you again. And another favorite, maybe same or not as much. I don't know. That's an etching again. The amount of detail, the amount of faces in this thing is fucking ridiculous. And also, Mrs. Comic and I look at this and we see different genders in the same face. Like I'll look at one face and she'll say that's a man. I'll say, well, that's funny. I thought that was a lady, and then the one I thought was a man, she would think is a lady, and vice versa. I think that's fascinating. So right there, you can see there's two big faces that are clear, but there's also a million fucking little faces in there. We absolutely love these pieces. Please, sister, when you get to it, I hope you watch this later on. Um, let's see here. I think that's all that I dropped in here for tonight because I was mostly going to tell scary stories, and here I sit. Let's see. Oh, that's the other thing about Caesar is that he he takes my spot, right? Okay, so I'm over on this sofa over here, and I can't sit there because he comes on my lap for licking sticks and treats. So then I hide over there and I don't feed him over, so I'm kind of safe over there until he comes over and peer pressures me to coming over to licking stick seat. Then sometimes that's not part of the trick. I'll get up to get a drink, get himself bourbon. Look out, and he will take my seat, which he's in right now. He's over there snoozing. So that's kind of really adorable. So we're still having a lot of fun with him. Let's see here. I'm going through my notes. I had October was a little rough show business wise, but it was still good. I had a couple of good things, and I just had a wonderful show. Last Saturday sold out, and they got the 2 hour show out of me. I just babble on and on and on. Coming up this weekend is one of my absolute favorite places to perform, the Harrisburg Comedy Zone. I get to handpick 2 weekends. I always am there the first weekend of November when we throw the clocks forward or back, whatever the hell it is, I don't know. And then I get a weekend in May. It's an amazing club. The sound system is great. Not a bad seat in the house. I've been going there for I don't know how many years. When I first started performing there, I'll share with you the business end of things. Is that I used to try to get 60% of the door, 60, and I've never worked for this club before, and they didn't want to go for 60, and they offered me 50, and I was trying to be a dick, and our daughter's like, take the deal for crying out loud. No, they don't. They pay fucking $200 to headliners. So she said, take the deal. That's pretty damn close. So I took the deal, and it's been a gold mine for me and an amazing club. And a couple of years went by that the hotel and the club were kind of running into the ground. The parking lot was dark. It's right off the highway. I don't know whatever a highway runs uh, south that would keep going, get you into Maryland. Um, and so they sold the club, and the new owners were from Australia. They happened to be there the night I was there, and I was packing the place in, even though it looked like the kind of place that was going bankrupt. And they just fucking loved me, mostly because, well, I'm adorable for one thing, and it's good for business. So they wanted to know. They asked me, which was kind of cool. They asked me uh, what they could do to make the place better, and they said they were going to build me a comedy theater. Nobody really believes that, but I was there, and they said we'll build you a theater, and they did. They have boomerang shaped tables that go up in the back, so if you sit in the back, you're raised up a little bit. They have a painting of a lot of comics on the wall. I'm the first head that was up there, and so I get an upgrade every so often. But they said, what would you do to this property? And I said, well, for one thing, you have to get lights in the parking lot. That parking lot is scary. That parking lot looks like the kind of parking lot you would look for if you had a body in the trunk and you wanted to fucking dump it. And so they did. The parking lot's lit up. They don't even own any more new owners, but the club is great. I'm excited to be there. Harrisburg Comedy Zone. It's a place I would come see me if I was going to see me. So check that shit out. And then I have, see, the quiet you, not the boss of me. That means it's pill time, I think, or actually crunk time. Uh, day before Thanksgiving, I will be at the uh, Cinema and Draft House in West Hazelton, not to be confused with the other Hazelton. It's not West Hazelton and East Hazelton. It's West Hazelton and Hazelton. So that's one of the last $10 ticket tour shows hanging out. But it's actually $12 to get in because they need to make money too. That's fun. I will then be at the Emmaus Theater. Oh, I'm jumping the gun here. Day after Christmas, Sellersville Theater. That's a lot of fun. Get tickets for that. It's reserved. It's a theater. It's fucking incredible. And New Year's Eve, I'll be at the Emmaus Theater. And what's great about the Emmaus Theater and the Sellersville Theater show for me is it's me. There's no opening act. It's fucking 90 minutes of stuff. And they were concerned, Sellersville, that I wouldn't be able to do a 90-minute show. Now they're worried they can't get me off in 3 hours. So it's just a fucking wonderful experience. If you can see me there. And then Arts Quest over at Steel Stacks, I used to do in January, but we pushed that to February to get a little space in between shows here. So that's me whoring me. I do private parties and I do fundraisers for fire holes and all kinds of shit like that. But I'm also expensive. I have a free listing rater on Gig Salad, and I get all the time. And I put in there what my budget is. My budget is like fucking $1,000 on up, whatever. And I will get people that want me to go 9 hours for to do a 15-minute show, and then I would do it, but I factor in the travel. So whatever the travel is, I Google it, and they get the price goes up for traveling. Well, they think they're paying for the minute, so it's like, well, what if you only do like a 9-minute show? Well, I still have to fucking travel 9 hours there, don't I? So unless you can fucking fly me in, so those are fun, but I hardly get any work out of those. That's pretty much it for me, whoring myself. Let's see here. My notebook. Boy, if anybody finds this, I'll probably be committed. Cannibalism, that's the thing. Adult section, yellow pages. Fuck me and a bucket of goo. Just want to make one more thing here before I get out of Dodge. We hope that you are having a lot of fun. Again, scary stuff. One of these days, we will work towards this. It'll probably never happen, but Mrs. Comic watches scary shit the way people who make scary shit want people to watch fucking scary shit. And I do oftentimes, I'm more entertained watching her than watching the scary thing. If I could find a way to have you watch scary thing with me, with her, where you could see her doing the scary shit, that would be fantastic. She did a fucking scream the other night, and Caesar's fucking scared and ran. I'm fucking scared and ran. But again, it's very personal and private, but if I was filming her, she wouldn't do it. There's no fucking way. This would have to be covert, sneaky spy camera, and that makes me a dick, which I won't do. So that'll probably never happen. So I'm sharing with you a fun thing that I wish you could experience, but you can't because you didn't marry her. Ha ha! That's it for this week's show, I think. I don't really have anything else to say. We love yous. Have a great week. Don't be a dick to each other. And a new theme of my show when I'm out in the world is that I'll leave you with this, is that if you're not having fun and happy most of the time in the week, you're doing something wrong. If there's shit that's pissing you off or making you fucking angry, get the fuck away from it. There's so many choices for entertainment, for music, for movies. If there's a thing that you're OCDing about that makes you fucking mad, that's a bad thing. And you need to step away from it, change your activity, take a walk, decide to read a book or watch a movie, whatever that thing is that fucking spins you into madness, because life is supposed to be fun. Don't be a dick to each other. Be fucking awesome to each other. And remember, no matter how old you are, people love surprises. Fun surprises. Like not leap out of the fucking closet and go, ah, which I've done, which is a kind of a dick move. But enjoy your lives. That's the message here. Don't be a dick. We love you, Mrs. Comic. Thanks you for tuning in.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. And we will hopefully see you next week. And if we don't get, we're going to do a Clee birthday show, even if it's not on his birthday. We can't do it tonight because Clee's sister isn't here. And again, I want to have a party on the cemetery, but I sort of think that's illegal anymore. And also, that goes back to the thing that will be in my horror story about the teenagers all grown up is that when you do that, that's kind of cool, but everybody's changed and they're not fun anymore. Some of them, and some are too fun. But also, what is important is the shit that you did when you were a teenager. It's no longer funny to the police that you're explaining it to because you're a fucking grown up and you look like a fucking sick lunatic. So don't think you can run around doing the same shit you did when you were fucking 17 years old smoking dope and the cop just took in your marijuana and threw it in the ground and said, I'm not going to put up with this shit. It's more serious now. Keep having fun, but don't, just remember what year it is. All right, be safe, and we will see you next week. Let's see, I'm going to leave you with this thing here because this is the shit. Where is it? Right there. I'll find it. I will leave you with Caesar, the uh, Black Lodge loving hippie cat. There we go. 99. Now